Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is McFarlane Friday, so we're looking at the next issue of his Spawn run, issue number 22, cover dated June 1993, I think at this point. 1994, excuse me. All right. I've mentioned before how I think, this is basically McFarlane's last run on Spawn art-wise. We got two more issues after this of his art, and that's it, 23 and 24. After that, we move on to Mark Silvestri for one issue, and then Greg Capullo, who's going to do a huge run after that. And again, I've mentioned before, I suspect he started a little bit earlier helping out Todd on the series. This issue here is a good example. I've mentioned how I think in issue 21 there were some things here and there that maybe Greg Capullo had done. But when I look through this issue here, man, I'm going to point out all the points where I think Greg Capullo is involved, and I think that slowly but surely the plan is definitely already known to McFarlane that he's going to slowly be passing off the art chores to Greg Capullo. So what you need to look at as we go through this issue is you're definitely still getting the Mark McFarlane aesthetic on top. He's still inking probably, if not all of it, most of it. And then underneath, we're getting more and more Capullo composition. And I feel like this issue is probably kind of a test for McFarlane, that McFarlane's given Capullo, where he's like, okay, lay out most of the issue and stuff, right? So a lot of the composition and layouts and stuff, I suspect are done by Capullo, keeping in mind the McFarlane kind of look. So Capullo's probably gone through all the issues of Spawn, just looking at them real quick and getting a sense of them visually, and then adapting some of that stuff into his own style. So you'll see some McFarlane-isms in the layouts, but you'll also see some Capullo-isms, if I can put it that way. Real quick on the cover, not quite sure why there's a border there. Maybe the art was done really small. It doesn't feels like this was done pretty quickly once again. Last issue's cover was like that. Pretty far away shot, not too much detail of Spawn, his cape, and a big skull on the back. So very designy cover once again. Just one and done, get it out of the way and move on to managing the toy company, basically is what I feel here again with this cover. Don't quite remember. I know I've seen the cover of issue 23 and then 24. I feel like both of those also kind of fit within this mold of, basically Todd just doing a quick pinup for the cover to get it through. Had they, not had this black border, the art would be bigger. And, sometimes when you blow up art that's smaller, that's not very detailed, it's not going to look so great blown up even more, right? So you don't want to, the more you shrink it, the more detail it seems to have, basically, and the more you blow it up, the less detail it seems to have. So I feel like maybe that's a little bit of what happened with this cover here. In a way, it does kind of make it stand out, I guess, on the magazine rack back in the day when that's where you bought your comics. Let's have a look inside. So the storyline is basically still the same. It's the Hunt Part 2, so the Mafia is going after Spawn, right? So what you're going to see here, a lot of is Spawn trying to intimidate the Mafia and the return of Overkill. I hate calling them that, so I'll probably stick to Overkill. Issue is dedicated to Frank Miller. Story and art, Todd McFarlane. Copy editor and letters, Tom Wojciechowski. Color, Steve Oliff, and all the optics. And special thanks to Greg Capullo, and I think that's definitely in there because of what I mentioned before and what I suspect is Greg Capullo's contribution to this issue. Already kind of a McFarlane-esque layout, but definitely some, to me, Greg Capullo compositions. This one here is, to me, a dead giveaway. Greg Capullo uses this kind of over-the-shoulder surprise shot or whatever you want to call it very often. And I definitely think that Greg Capullo laid this out and not Tom McFarlane. I've never seen Tom McFarlane really use this angle here. I mean, he may have, but I just definitely feel like it's more of a Capullo thing. Right away on this page here, the foreshortening, the way the hand is foreshortened here, all the detail, the inking, very McFarlane. The foreshortening is definitely Greg Capullo foreshortening. It's very accurate. One thing that Greg Capullo has on top of McFarlane and better than McFarlane is anatomy. Generally, he's if you don't know this, a bodybuilder, so he's very aware of the body and the muscles and how they work. So you start to see much better kind of anatomy all throughout Spawn, and that's definitely because of Greg Capullo. A lot of the stuff here, the compositions, the aesthetic is 100% McFarlane on top, but just the amount of details and the stuff on the desk and how much is going on and the layering of stuff is just, it's done in a very Greg Capullo manner. And not a McFarlane one. A lot of it is just not stuff McFarlane is usually doing. I mean, you can pass this off as a Tom McFarlane shot for sure. But like all these bullets in the back here, To me, that's when Greg Capullo's channeling like the Spawn look. I haven't seen McFarlane do something like that. And these bullets in no way resemble a bullet that McFarlane, I think, would draw. These faces here, even though inked by McFarlane, definitely later issues of Spawn that Capullo draws will clue you into the fact that these are the type of faces that Capullo draws and not McFarlane. This, again, the inking could fool you into thinking it's McFarlane maybe in this panel here, but this one here, this kind of slice of light, you know, with lots of shadows, negative space around it, is a Capullo trope. He's going to do it all throughout the series, and it really does start a lot in this issue. There's other examples of that there too. And I think the art is stellar here at this point. There's a, you know, a little while there where I didn't like the Capullo stuff when I was a kid and eventually kind of jumped back in because he got really good really quick. Here it feels almost like, you know, that slightly later stuff that I liked. So originally when it was really out there that it was him and those, you know, 4 or 5 issues that he did before that, 16, 17, 18, and then later on 19, 20, was not feeling those at all. The inking on top was just not great by Mark Pennington. And, you know, once McFarlane throws his aesthetic on top, it really starts to sing. And this is, to me, the first hints of that. But yeah, just the way the characters at an angle and stuff, this is like later Capullo Spawn stuff, not like Todd McFarlane. This is Capullo doing a McFarlane sequence, though, where you start really big and you kind of zoom out and see what's going on, right? I still don't think those are McFarlane teeth. Those are Capullo teeth. Basically, this is Capullo doing McFarlane. Even this big face here, it's cartoony, but not in the same way McFarlane does it. And I mean, Capullo's a great artist. He's definitely picking up on all, or a lot of the McFarlane ticks. Like this shot of Jason Wynn here, very McFarlane-ish. We get the Terry sequence where he's being threatened once again. That's kind of the current storyline, right? Dead rat in a box. Like, it just feels like more kind of traditional storytelling, more solid storytelling overall in layout, with just some of those McFarlane flourishes when it comes to the layering of the panels and stuff, right? Like I said, like Capullo's smart enough to see what, you know, McFarlane's throwing in there that makes it different, makes it look like a Spawn comic, and he's very good at integrating that into his own artwork. Again, here's another cool shot. Spawn sitting on his throne here, but this slice of light going through kind of the whole piece there, that's something Capullo is going to use all throughout. You're going to see tons of splash pages in Spawn like this where it's mostly black and just a slice of light down the middle with the figure kind of in there, whether it's Spawn or a villain or anyone that's being introduced in that issue. You're going to see a lot of that from Greg Capullo. Cool shot of overt kill here, or overkill, do you prefer that? This could possibly be fully McFarlane. I could believe that. I mean, you know, he's in shadow, deep shadow, so a lot of the detail here looks very McFarlane-ish. So the original could have been Capullo. A lot of the inking on these wires and stuff is very McFarlane-ish. So, you know, I could almost give it to him there. I think the back of the heads here are maybe more representative of Todd McFarlane. Again, I could be wrong because I do feel like a lot of the layout here, there's just more layering in the art, right? Foreground, middle ground, background, just, you know, more evocative backgrounds and establishing shots overall, you know, in this issue. Here's another shot from the back of the heads, 3/4. I definitely have not seen Todd McFarlane do much of these. I definitely feel like this is something Capullo's more at ease with. These guns down here, you know, much more, you know, still image style, but much more realistic and at least referenced to a certain extent with actual guns, I feel like. So much more kind of Capullo designed with some McFarlane inks on top. The foreshortening, once again here, like all the aesthetic says McFarlane, but the foreshortening is proper and it says Capullo. He's a lot stronger when it comes to composition, anatomy and all, so I definitely feel like we're seeing that here. Another good example of some really good foreshortening, even though the aesthetic on top is slightly cartoonier. I don't think McFarlane is quite as successful, when he does his foreshortening. Generally, not that he can't do it, but it always looks a little odd, and that's kind of part of the charm of his art style. But I think Capullo is just more solid in so much as doing the foreshortening. Someone like maybe Eric Larson is also very solid on that, or more so than McFarlane. McFarlane's strengths tend to be in other areas generally. Not that he's not able to, but that's generally how I feel about it. Once again, we're seeing that slice of light kind of deal here, and also this perspective from, they call it worm's eye view or something like that when you're down on the ground looking up, right? So we're kind of getting that with the triangular composition here and here. Definitely a staple of Greg Capullo and what he'll be adding to the series throughout. So I don't think McFarlane did quite as much as this. I feel it's, again, a Capullo trope, something he introduces and is going to use a lot throughout the Spawn series. Again, the shot of Overkill definitely to me screams Capullo. Even as like the shadows here are much more in his style when he was doing on X-Force. The shape of the eye here, the little slight point, kind of triangular point to the top lip is something he would do on X-Force as well with his characters. So again, more evidence to the fact that Capullo probably drew most of this issue. There's some McFarlane-esque debris, and he's inking it, and he's included Felix, but when, again, I look at a boot like this, this seems more in line with what I'm going to see in later issues with Capullo drawings than what I've seen with earlier issues of McFarlane, as far as even most of the aesthetic, even though he might have inked it. The boot itself is just better drawn than what I would expect from McFarlane. The shape of the eye here is already something like McFarlane's done some wacky eye shapes for Spawn, but nothing like this. This just feels sharper and a little more, like I said, in line with Capullo's line. And yeah, so basically we get to the point where Overkill has cornered Terry, right? And we've got Simon Twitch kind of mirroring that, who've cornered Spawn here. And once again, this last panel here, other than some of the detailing and the highlighting on Overkill's visor here, I don't see much McFarlane in this panel. To me, it's pure Greg Capullo pretty much all the way through. And that's where we're going to leave it at today, I guess. Funny little story, because I was reminded of this as I went through the issue earlier before the review. I remember this drawing here. May not make anyone out there laugh, but I laugh about it. I had a friend in early junior high who looked exactly like this, kind of a chubby fellow, and his name's Aaron. And I remember buying this issue back in the day and seeing this and thinking, hey, that's Aaron. It looks exactly like him, other than the makeup, and he didn't have a skullet because we were still young, had all his hair. But it just makes me laugh that he looks like one of my childhood buddies. Not sure that's interesting for anyone but me, but I figured I'd put it out there. Oh yeah, here's the publicity campaign Jim Lee did in all the Image comics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages dedicated to a horrible cartoon that was trying to compete with X-Men and never was able to. Obviously, the quality was shit, to be honest, in the animation. Not that X-Men was that great, but X-Men at least I think had good stories for the animated series, so that's what kind of kept people coming back. Stories inspired from the comic. Wildcats had no good stories written up to that point, so how can you take any inspiration from the series for the animated cartoon? And again, the animation was just horrendous. I've seen it on YouTube. You can check that out if you're curious and see how horrible it looks. And again, Greg Capullo at this point is basically Todd McFarlane's right-hand man. He's helping him in all sorts of ways, drawing Spawn, drawing the Violator issue, because Bart Sears, I guess, either gave up or is too late for the when Todd wants to solicit the issue, so he gets Greg Capullo to draw it because he knows he can draw it pretty quickly, turn it out, and get it out there. If anyone out there has any idea why Bart Sears never ended up drawing the 3rd issue of Violator, please let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to know what happened there, because I really do like that series. I love the 2 first issues drawn by Bart Sears, and I was very disappointed to see Greg Capullo at that time draw the 3rd issue. Again, I was not yet an actual fan of Greg Capullo, didn't really like his artwork, and I was kind of disappointed. I really liked what Bart Sears was doing on it. It was really out there and exaggerated and kind of extreme and crazy, like Bart Sears going image, I guess is how I'd put it. And I thought it was great, so I would have loved to have had that complete series done by Bart Sears, but that's not what happened. So if anyone knows any kind of behind the scenes on that, let me know. Why did Bart Sears not draw Violator number 3? So there you go, guys. That is my review of Spawn, issue number 22 by Todd McFarlane, but not really. Mostly by Capullo and McFarlane, I guess is what I'd say. But we'll keep up appearances for the next 2 issues, because officially they are Todd McFarlane's last art issues of Spawn. If you are subscribed, guys, and you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. If you're not subscribed, please do so below. It helps the channel, helps us grow, helps hopefully get us up to 500 total subscribers. And when we hit that, that's going to help out. The algorithm's going to help the channel out, acquiesce to the fact that my channel exists, and hopefully help get us out there a little bit more to other people who are interested in comics just like we are. So everyone out there, thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome weekend.
Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.